Man, they make this Battlegrounds activity really fun actually. I wonder how well I did this time. Well, of course I gotta give out commendations first, but let's see that results tab. Oh, Fang Pauldrons have always been a menace, especially in the right hands, so much so that they had to be nerfed as people were going distances previously unimaginable. But even with the nerf, it won't stop us here. With Lightfall's release, the whole build crafting sphere in Destiny 2 is now focused on Orbs of Power, as elemental wells and ore mine cells kinda bit the dust. So, we're going to create a Titan build that is laser focused on making as many orbs as possible. We're really gonna push the boundaries of what amounts are even possible in short amounts of time. This build is all about that super spam, so we would use our supers as soon as we get it. So far my record has been 362 orbs within 15 minutes, 3 more than the amount of kills somehow. But now let's get into the nitty-gritty, the cogs which make this whole build work. First of all, of course, I shall introduce the champion of the idea. You would need the exotic gauntlets called Fang Pauldron. As a small refresher, this is what it does. Void melee kills give super energy, while Sentinel shield is active, melee kills recharge shield throw, which extends your super on hits. Which means that we will be using the Void Titan's roaming super instead of bubble, and of course we will be using the shield throw melee. Now, for the grenade, it's personal preference, although Vortex Grenade has been dominating the field for quite a while due to its magnetic mechanic. For aspects, we will be going with Offensive Bulwark, mostly for the second shield throw, ironically, and for the second aspect we will be choosing Controlled Demolition instead of Bastion, for 2 reasons. First, it gives us 2 fragment slots instead of 1, and this aspect ensures that our enemies stay volatile forever, which is a nice bonus. For fragments we're using Echo of Instability, which is not a strict requirement in the current season as we do have volatile flow, but it's a nice addition to keep the volatile momentum going. Feel free to replace this one with a fragment of your own personal choice. Next, Echo of Reprisal will give us more super energy, and this build is centered around getting our super as fast as possible. Echo of Starvation is a great sustain tool and will keep us online through Devour by replenishing our health and giving us more grenade energy. And Echo of Undermining, a great additional way to debuff our enemies, so they would be both volatile and weakened pretty much all the time. Now, let's talk stats. Strength is preferred, but it's not a hard requirement, as we will be getting our melee back through many different means in this build. Resilience is, of course, still good, even with the recent nerf, get it. Discipline is a neat bonus, but it's much less preferred than strength. Recovery is not as important as you would think, as our main source of sustain will be the Devour fragment. And mobility and intellect will share their spot in the trash can, as usual. Now let's move over to weapons. My personal choice of weapons so far has been a kinetic SMG with Osmosis, a Waveframe Void Grenade Launcher with Wellspring. Unfortunately, I still didn't get one with Destabilizing rounds, which is probably better. And Two-Tailed Fox whenever I would need single target or boss DPS. That way I would have the SMG for Overload champions while keeping the volatile buff online for the barrier champions. If a solution for Unstoppable is needed, you can swap to either Leviathan's Breath or a Glaive with Medieval Champion mod. Here are all of the weapons I've tested this with to be able to cycle through different champions. On that topic, let's get into the seasonal mods. It's a good idea to get the ones that discount your void and grenade energy. Shatter Orbs mod spawns an orb upon destroying a void shield, which there are surprisingly many throughout the activities. Volatile flow has been already mentioned, it's good. Bricks from Beyond will ensure that you never run out of heavy ammo, and Void Weapon Channeling will compensate the damage department. Now, what really ties this build all together is the armor mods. Each armor mod that I will bring up is as important as the other, and they all work together with each other, like a well-oiled machine. For the helmet, Roaming Super Orb Generation has been buffed with Lightfall, and that plus Power Presentation enables an insane spawn of orbs through your super. Void Siphon will allow spawning orbs on Void Weapon multi-kills, and our Waveframe launcher does a great job at that. Hands-On gives more energy on melee kills, which is mostly what we will be doing with this build. Thankfully, the shield throw allows an option of a ranged melee kill. For the gauntlets, Heavy-handed and firepower will give us more ways to generate orbs consistently, and melee kickstart is gonna be our way to utilize the armor charge mechanic and our most efficient source at getting our melee back. For armor, it's more simple. I rock a double charged up, but feel free to replace one of them for one of the resistance mods. For legs, it's important to rock double invigoration, which replenishes a huge part of your melee upon picking up an orb. Stacks on stacks fuels the armor charge part even more. And finally, for the class item, I use Distribution and Reaper for an even higher uptime of my abilities and for an additional way to generate orbs. All of these shenanigans turn your average gameplay one step closer to an Anteater arrow code. Some people claim that the Lightfall mod system killed the depth and the complexity of Destiny's build crafting, but I would disagree, as I'm uncertain if the previous mod system would allow this kind of freedom and self-sustainability. I know that some people might ask, so I can equip all of those and just go into GMs unbothered this season? To which I would have to say, sadly, no. This build is not optimized for high-end level activities, as a lot of it relies on getting kills with your melee, the shield throw, same for the super. I don't believe that every Destiny 2 build has to be incredibly optimal and GM ready. However, there is an option that would make this build worthwhile in GMs while keeping the same orb generating spirit, and that's Ursa Furiosa. This build was made for fun and to push the boundaries of orb generation, not to conquer the highest grounds of the game's Nightfall activities, and that's okay. This build shines brightest in mid-level activities like Gambit or Battlegrounds or Terminal Overload, any seasonal activity, etc. I want to give a shout out to a Reddit user Cave Johnson for inspiring the idea for this build. It was mad to imagine that his post didn't get that much traction actually. The dim link for this build will be in the description of the video. And now go on, enjoy, and see if you can beat my personal record of 360 plus orbs, and tell me in the comments how much did you manage to make.